Welcome, everybody, to Boston 9/11 Truth. Today is April 17th, 2025. And today we have a very special guest, Diana Castillo. And Diana will be discussing her experiences promoting 9/11 Truth in Miami, Orlando, DC, and Spain. Diana is a dedicated 9/11 truth activist who has impacted the movement across multiple regions. She co-founded a 9/11 truth group in Madrid, Spain, reaching the Spanish-speaking world through a website and blog, and facilitated talks by prominent speakers for Spanish audiences. Her activism extended to collaborating with the DC 9/11 Truth Group and supporting architects and engineers for 9/11 Truth by coordinating translations, which is something that our friend Sandra has done, right?
Well, we work together.
Yeah. Additionally, she established a small 9/11 Truth Group in Miami and launched a podcast to further amplify uh, discussions on the topic, showcasing their commitment to raising awareness globally. Most recently, she assisted Richard Gage and the firefighters at a conference in Orlando uh, to raise awareness among the firefighting community. So welcome, Diana.
Hi, thank you. Since I have an hour, I'm going to present a lot about mostly Spain because there's a lot of things that we did in Spain that I don't think Americans know about, and they should know about it because it was pretty interesting. So I would like people to feel free to ask me questions during the presentation, okay?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna start sharing.
Question, just raise your electronic hand, or if you can't,
Excuse me.
the chat, and I'll keep an eye on that. All right, go right ahead, Diana.
Okay, so I'm first gonna discuss how I found out about 9/11. When it first happened, I didn't believe that it was a false flag. I believed the official story, but I was protesting the wars with Spaniards at Americans abroad against the war in Madrid. So a lot of people in that movement came to me and said, "Hey, look at 9/11. It's not true and all this," and I couldn't believe it. However, I was walking down the street one day, excuse me, and I saw a little piece of paper on the floor of Madrid, and the paper invited me to a conference with Willie Rodriguez and other firefighters in Madrid. I went to this conference, and there was like space for 5,000 people, and only about 20 were there. It was totally empty. Yeah, they didn't advertise it correctly. So, but when I saw it, I learned about the fact that they had told people the EPA had said the air was safe to breathe and the water was safe to drink 3 days after. So I was quite, um, when I heard that, I was like, oh, if they can do that, then they can do 9/11. So that really was a turning point for me. And then I also heard one of the first evidences I heard was the testimony of the Secretary of Transportation to the 9/11 9/11 investigation group. What was it called?
9/11 Commission.
9/11 Commission, yeah. So that was one of the first things and then, Building 7. So going on to that, how do I go out to the next page here? Oops. Sorry, I present.
Not sharing screen yet.
Oh, okay, I got it here. All right. I'm not sharing?
No.
We haven't seen a screen yet. We've only seen you.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. Well, that's good because that wasn't a good scare. Okay, so let me share. Okay, so share. I thought I was sharing. Am I sharing now?
Yep.
Okay.
But we're just seeing a screen with a whole lot of.
Yeah, I'm gonna turn on.
Okay.
So after I found out about 9/11, I would come home from Spain to DC every 3 months to visit my parents. And so I joined the DC 9/11 Truth group in DC, and I started, meeting people there. And after a few months, I was feeling guilty because as an American, I felt like I was responsible for 9/11. I was living in Spain. So there was no knowledge over there about 9/11 at all. So I was like, well, I want to start a 9/11 Truth group in Spain. So the DC 9/11 Truth group gave me flyers. They helped me. And then I went to Spain, and I asked one of the people that I knew from the Americans Abroad Against the Wars, who was one of the people who had always been giving me information about 9/11, so I knew he knew about it. So I went to meet with him, and I said, can we set up a 9/11 Truth group here together? And he goes, who do you work for? So, but he did start it with me, and then we started having a lot of let me see. Okay, we started having a lot of
That's fine.
like conferences. We were having conferences. It was like very serious. We had conferences in a conference hall, and it was all very serious until I heard about this guy. Do you see him on the screen?
Yes.
Okay, so he had been standing out in the middle of the Castellana, which is the biggest street in Madrid, since 2001 by himself.
Wow.
And this says demolition's been Bush Laden, a specialty Torres Gemelas, but he would also say el 11S lo hizo, 9/11 was an inside job in Spanish. So, and he made this paper mache. He was a very creative guy, but he had just been sitting there by himself, just,
Did he yell "Mira, mira"? If I
Yes, he
said that
did.
right.
I forgot
It means look. It means look, look.
Right. He was this a character. I'm going to show you some more pictures. El 11S lo hizo Bush y CIA. Los demás es desentenimiento. 9/11 is 11S in Spanish, okay? Was done by Bush with the dollar and the CIA. Everything else is
Disinformation?
disinformation for entertainment purposes.
Can you pronounce that last word just for the kicks?
Yeah.
Desinfotenimiento.
Jeez.
I could make that word up. He would make words up. So.
Oh.
All right. So this is another one of him. La bolsa se hunde porque se sabe que el 11S lo hizo Bush. So this is the day the market was going down. He said the reason that the market's going down is because everybody knows that 9/11 was done by Bush. And then Viva Bin Laden y la CIA que le parió. So we started a website. So once he started a website, he started incorporating the website on his signs. This says, "Long live Bin Laden and the CIA that gave birth to him."
Mm.
Okay, and this is another one where he's like, "This also we have the website already." He said the 11S was a autotentado, autotentado means a
Self-implosion?
self done auto.
Oh, inside job.
Inside job, yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
We have proofs. So just wanted to show a few pictures of him. He would do all these cardboard things with hand painted. He had this special handwriting. Very creative.
Mhm.
Okay. So I'm going to show a little video of us. This is Smob. He was a friend of him and he joined us. So Smob, Greg was American. Smob was Spanish. So this is an example when we would go to all these rallies and just break in with signs. And this was a rally for John McCain in Madrid.
He sido testigo de este encuentro. Españoles y estadounidenses junto a una silueta de cartón del candidato republicano John McCain. Son integrantes de la plataforma Spain for McCain y hoy han repartido folletos para crear un clima pro-republicano ante la Obama-manía que dicen invade España.
España y Europa es liberal. Ellos piensan que Obama es la Masaya, la nueva persona. Venga, esta persona no tiene experiencia para nada, para nada. Entonces, señor McCain es el único candidato para los Estados Unidos y francamente el resto del mundo.
So This is a video that this is a video we took. That wasn't. So that was the TV show. This is the one we made. We have McCain holding the 9/11 bridge flag. They're taking away McCain.
What year was that? Oh, 2000.
Yeah, so I'm not exactly in order.
Aquí estamos. Y a ver dónde está el Maccaín. El Maccaín. El Maccaín. Va a estar en algún sitio de esta plaza dentro de un rato. Te sorprenderás con nuestras bancajations. Bueno, ahí vamos a
Is that Matt Campbell?
hacer un simbolismo para, parece ser el Partido Republicano, que es una representación de McCain, de cartón, ¿no? Que tienen un muñecote ahí, vamos. Y bueno, pues vamos ahí hay una cámara, vemos.
Looks just like him with sunglasses.
El ojo.
Nice.
Vamos a ver de qué va y luego empezaremos a cantar el autobús, el autobús, el autobús. Tranqui, tenemos que ser enanos para llegar ahí. Venga, y tenemos que pasar por detrás para que se nos vea. Hay que bajar las pancartas con las las bajitas. Por detrás. No, por detrás. 9/11 was an inside joke. 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 El autobús, el autobús, el autobús, el autobús, el autobús lo hizo. Lo hizo republicano, republicatas, demopublicanos, republicatas, demopublicanos.
Okay, so that was one. Okay, so yes, we was having a lot of fun. We had a special song just for 9/11. Okay, my presentation went away. Let me go back to present.
Good old days.
Okay, let me go on to the next thing. This is another sign. He said, policía, profesor, pontificia, periodista. So he says politician, police, professor. This is like a professor at a university, journalist. It's much more easy to just say puta, which is okay. So we had every weekend they had a outdoor fair in Las Ramblas. And so we set up this weekend, this information panel. So you could read all about 9/11 on this panel. We were there every weekend.
Wow.
Yeah. And then, okay, so this is a little video that Smob made about all the things we did. The creation of 2006, 89/11, 2041, Richard Gates, 2008. And then we had Richard, David Ray Griffin, Neil Harris. And we had
Diana, it might be easier to mute that and you talk because we can't hear you.
Okay, so next. Okay, so there was an architecture, Colegio Oficial por la Arquitectura, which is the official architecture school for Spain, headquartered in Madrid. And SMOB and I went out, we were just standing outside, like protesting. And then we decided we wanted to have Richard Gage speak there. So they said, well, you have to present it in writing. So SMOB wrote this 2-page, little tiny letters, long thing saying about this architect that was very famous in the United States, and we wanted to have him in there. And they agreed. And they paid for his, this is a very prestigious official place. They paid for the official translation, which was like $600. So we had a lot of publicity. Lots of people came. It was overflow out into the, they had an overflow room. And we got on the news.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Telecinco, unfortunately, I only have this in Spanish. I couldn't get it in English, but this is the report that came out on Telecinco, which is a mainstream TV the next day.
Y queremos que conozcan a arquitectos e ingenieros por la verdad sobre el 11S. Son alrededor de 500 profesionales estadounidenses que no creen la versión oficial sobre los atentados contra las Torres Gemelas. Defienden que las torres no se derrumbaron como consecuencia del choque de los aviones. Este fin de semana, precisamente en Madrid, exponen sus tesis.
El impacto de los aviones es irrelevante, no causó el derribo de las torres, tampoco el fuego que se produjo después, lo dice Richard Gage.
Lo que es importante es la evidencia de que fue una explosión controlada lo que provocó el derribo. Las columnas del edificio fueron a parar a unos 200 metros a una velocidad de 45 kilómetros por hora. Esto solo puede hacerse usando explosivos.
Este arquitecto de gira por Europa razona su teoría en una conferencia de más de 3 horas. Estas son sus pruebas. Caída libre como en una demolición controlada. Testigos que hablan de explosiones. Testimonios que fueron, dice, obviados en el informe oficial. Presencia de termitas, material que solo se encuentra si hay, asegura, explosivos y que producen altísimas temperaturas, muy por encima de las alcanzadas en un incendio normal. Y lo que percibe en las imágenes del propio derrumbe, pequeñas explosiones justo por encima de la caída de cada planta. Insiste en que es aún más claro en el edificio 7, que cae sin impacto de avión alguno, una caída que la BBC narra 20 minutos antes de que se produzca. Son sus evidencias las que le llevan a pedir que la nueva administración norteamericana reabra la investigación sobre lo ocurrido el 11 de septiembre.
Okay, so that was on TV, that was on mainstream TV. The journalist had been at a presentation, and she, at the end of the presentation, which ended like 1 o'clock in the morning, she said, send me the slides. And so at 3 in the morning, I'm sending her the slides. At 8 in the morning, somebody from our group called us and said, hey, we just saw it on TV, and they had taped it. That's why we have it.
Mm.
And then I called her and I said, is it going to be on again? She goes, yeah, it'll be on later. Never again. It was a mistake. Oh. So, but it got on, so, and we had a copy of it, fortunately, because somebody had taped it. So it was amazing. Okay, so this is another place where Ateneo de Madrid is a super prestigious place, and these are pictures of it. We happen to be friendly with the guy that ran this place, and so he let us do presentations there. So we had David Ray Griffin.
Wow.
And that's the invitation, kind of. I have a better picture. That's the video. I'm not going to play the video. Then we had Niels Harrit also speaking there. And I think we had Richard Gage on another occasion. I'm not sure. Okay, then we also collaborated with, there was an attack on March 11th, which is also an 11 in Spain, the train attack. Do you remember that?
Yep.
There was a train attack, which was also a false flag. So there was a group called the Peones Negros in Madrid that wanted the truth for 11M. So we would, on our signs, we started putting 11M, 11S, 11M. And we had one side in Spanish and one side in English. So we also joined in with them at rallies. So,
Por la muerte de su marido, nosotros no vamos a hacer esto aquí. Tampoco vamos a invitar a las personalidades que han venido a hacerse valer aquí para decir algunas palabras, como el alcalde de Madrid, al que se le ha invitado a venir, no viene, el presidente de la audiencia provincial tampoco viene, el señor Bermúdez, del que decimos que es un vendido, tampoco viene, ninguna personalidad está aquí. Aquí estamos las auténticas personalidades de la sociedad civil, los ciudadanos de a pie, la gente, el pueblo, la gente cabreada.
So that was basically kind of like Gladio. You guys know about Gladio, right? Yeah. So what happened in Europe was, well, the whole thing was kind of Gladio Part 2. There was also the attacks in England. So we also put that on the signs. Oh, this is a video I'm not gonna play, but it's a video that proves all the reasons that we think that, or the reasons that people think that the 3rd of March was also, or the 11th of March was also a false flag. So I'm gonna give out this PDF later if people want to see that. They don't want to. It happened to be 911 days after 9/11.
Wow.
Okay, so then I also, we mentioned before, I helped to translate. I wouldn't do the translation, but I would help find translators in Spanish. This is just an example of one, so I'm not going to play that either. But Sandra worked with me also.
Yeah, I think you did a lot of the proofreading, though.
Me?
We would send you.
My
Yeah,
mother. My
oh,
mother.
your mother.
Yeah, my mother didn't even believe me, but she kind of did because she did the proofreading.
You're right.
She even contributed $5 once to our organization. She wouldn't say she did agree, but she.
That's okay.
This guy. Okay, so then you remember the 15M? This was here in the US. It was called Occupy.
Occupy Wall Street.
Right before Occupy Wall Street, there was one in I think Egypt or something. It was a big one in Egypt that started. Then it moved to Spain. It was called 15M. So it was the same movement. It just moved from place to place. So it started in, I think, Egypt. I don't remember what it was called in Egypt. Then in Spain, we had Occupy. We had our Occupy. It was called 15M. And we had an entire wall here. You see this part of the wall of the plaza. It was a huge plaza. We had a whole wall with our information, and we had people there all the time. And it was tons of people. I mean, it was packed. I think that was, we think that there was paid by Soros because a lot of people had electricity. They had tents with water. I mean, it seemed Soros organized, but we took advantage. This sign on the top, we had gone to one of the Bilderberg meetings, and one of the guys says, "Get me some money and I'll make some signs." So I went to ask all the people hanging out in front of the Bilderberg, and I said, "We need like $10 each to get a sign." And then we got like $80 and we made the sign. So everybody in this group, as you know, was basically broke. It doesn't take money to do this stuff. This takes creativity and willpower. You know, everybody, a lot of them didn't have a job. They just did this stuff. They were dedicated to this stuff. So I'm just saying that this cost us $80, and this sign has shown up on all over the world. So this is a little, one of our logos was a sheep watching the TV. All right, so let's see. This is one of the papers newspaper that there's a paper in Spain that's called El País. Oh, it's not working. Oh, there. Okay, so this is a picture of El País, it's the official newspaper. And we made one called Este País. It looked just like it. And it had all the stuff about 9/11. So we would hand that out, we put it in, mix it in with regular newspapers. I mean, it was just like the people, I mean, I didn't do this. A lot of people got totally involved in our group. I attracted millions of people, or not millions, but a lot of people got interested because we were having so much fun and we were being really creative. So just more and more people kept coming and doing things like this. Okay, so this is an example of a video with Oscar Abu Darabini. You know, in Argentina, there was they had their own 9/11 kind of. They had the AMIA, which they blamed on some Arab country. I don't remember. It was an attack on Israel, I think it was an Israeli embassy, and they blamed it on an Arab country. But according to Oscar Abu Darabini, it was actually the Israelis that did it themselves. So he was an activist for that. And
yeah, they blamed it on Iran, just to interject, sorry, which
okay,
makes
good.
sense with their agenda. Yep.
Okay, so there's a video about that.
Bueno, hoy 24 de noviembre nos dirigimos aquí a la asociación de prensa que está en la intersección de la calle Claudio Cuello con la calle Juan Bravo. Hemos venido a la embajada italiana, que había un evento del Correo de la Sera, pero no han terminado de venir los invitados. Eso sí, le hemos hecho llegar nuestro pasquín informativo de este país, versión 2. Lo llevo aquí. A la embajada, pues a toda la fuerza de seguridad, y ahora estamos aquí en la asociación de prensa. Que hemos redactado una carta y que la vamos a meter por registro de entrada, igual que hicimos en el COAN. Y bueno, esperamos que lo vea mucha gente. Hoy nos acompaña Oscar Bini, de Argentina. Esto es, él está por el 9/11 Club, el Movimiento por la Verdad en Argentina, luchando, y bueno, pues aquí estamos compartiendo este momento.
So he was also, Oscar Abu Darabini also gave presentations in that conference room that we had. So this is an example of this is a big horse that was in the middle of Plaza de España. So I'm just showing this picture on the left so you see how tall it is. It's really tall. It's like 3 stories high. And during the 15M, some guys on our team climbed up to the top of it and put our Stop New World Order with our website on it. And it was so high that they couldn't get it off. So it was there like for weeks. And the people, you know, this is the newspaper. So the newspaper couldn't avoid showing it. So it was pretty wild.
Wow.
That's some good guerrilla activism.
Yeah. Okay, then we also made t-shirts, which I cannot find. Our website with the pictures with the t-shirts is down, and I could not find the t-shirt picture. I have t-shirts, but I don't have them with me. So we made a bunch of t-shirts, and they're really original also, but I don't have a picture of it. But
what are escuadrones?
Escuadrones means escuadrones, like army, like an army.
Okay, all right, okay.
Yeah. And they were all different colors, so everybody in our team was wearing these t-shirts all the time. Okay, so we also had a blog, and we had a website. So this is a kind of, I think, symbolic of what's happening now. He says, crisis, when they tell the truth about 9/11, that's when you'll see a crisis, which is maybe happening now, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we are having financial crisis at the same time. So this was the front page of our website, no, our blog, which had a picture of the website. The blog is still up. The website is no longer up because it required updates all the time. You know, those websites require updates, and I didn't know Joomla. So the blog is still up because it doesn't require updates. Okay, so this was, we were handing out DVDs of 9/11 Mysteries. So this was the cover that we made to hand out the DVDs. That was very effective. That video changed a lot of people's mind. So we would take tapes of Richard Gage of that TV show, TV presentation, and we would just go to, and you know, in Madrid they have protests every day practically for some reason or another. So we would just break into all the protests and make it our protests.
Fueron a parar a unos 200 metros a velocidad de 45 kilómetros. Esto solo puede hacerse usando explosivos.
Oh no, is he there?
And how were you received when you crashed somebody else's protest?
They didn't mind because they kind of agreed with us mostly, except one day we broke into a union's protest. And I remember that night when I got home, I felt like some kind of darkness trying to attack me. So that union didn't like us, but most of them didn't care because they agreed with us. Okay, so then we also were on, there was a channel, TV channel called Canal 33. It was like a little small TV, it wasn't mainstream TV. So they interviewed me and Smob. So we were talking there. I'm not going to play that. It's an hour. I'm going to put the presentation out if you want. Then this is back in New York. Meantime, I went back to New York. There's Richard Gage.
I'll start with a fan of the. Estamos aquí al frente de New York Times, Richard Gage, con equipo de gente, arquitectos e ingenieros. Estamos aquí al frente del New York Times mirando un cartel que he comprado.
Eric Lawyer. Wayne Costa.
Mike Arnold.
So I was doing in Spanish, a Spanish explanation for the Spanish speaking back in Spain of what was going on in Spain, in New York. Okay, so let's see. Well, this is just crazy. I just want you to see it's a little bit. That's when they were preparing the signs.
Gotta have fun.
Yeah, that's what Ron Paul said, right? If activism isn't fun. Then we had also with us Palacios. His last name is Palacios. I can't think of the person right now. He was also part of our group, and he had a big blog and a big following.
Dile a Bush, sabemos que lo ha hecho él todo. Bueno, pues nada, esperamos que no haya muchos problemas, nada más que no eso.
So when I came back to the US and I saw these people with these little tiny signs, I was like, you guys don't know how to make signs. You know?
Nuestra libertad de expresión. Bueno, soledad, son las
Cada uno una de las razones por las cuales el 11S no lo pudo hacer un señor desde un desierto en Afganistán. Cada uno de los que están aquí va a decir una de las razones, pero hay decenas. La primera, la que voy a decir yo mismo, es que los aviones no se pueden estrellar contra las torres de Nueva York sin la aquiescencia del gobierno de los Estados Unidos.
That was Rafael Palacios. So he was part of our group as well. And there's a picture. This is I wanted to give everybody's names, but it's another video.
Escucha, ahora con letra. Tenemos la letra. 1, 2, 3, va. Los de bus. El ómnibus. El ómnibus no iba el ómnibus no iba el ómnibus no iba.
That was great.
Yeah. Some of them are missing. So I want to mention that also there was a TV show in Spain, Cuarto Milenio, it was called, and another activist with us, Jaime Garrido, who was an excellent speaker. He would talk about 9/11 on that show also. So that was on TV. Then this was at a conference. They had a conference in Barcelona that they keep still having. So they invited me to give a speech about 9/11 there. Let's see if I'm not going to play that. This was an example of a sign that had, 9/11, 3/11, and 7/7, which was the attacks in London, which were also a false flag. Oh, sorry, I'm skipping to Miami. This is a conference that we had in Miami later. Let's see.
Son los grandes culpables de esta situación de encanallamiento.
Fotógrafo fotografiado.
El atentado del 11 de marzo del 2004 ya no interesa a nadie. Han proclamado zapateros los representables que dominan los medios. Solo unas honrosas excepciones en los medios digitales escritos y en alguna emisora de radio.
So that was a conference about protest about the 11M, and we were working with them.
Oh my God.
This is Greg talking about the pandemic. Your pandemic is our awakening. So this is pretty creative. I'm skipping around a little bit here. What happened here?
Yet another caption from the Hundred Teams. Aquí que tenemos, nos encontramos un nuevo escuadrón. ¿Qué pasa, tío? Perdona, que te voy a copiar la pancarta, a ver. Si el 11 me lo hizo Alcalá, yo soy Bin Laden, da la vuelta. Municiones Bin Laden, llegamos a tu casa volando. Bueno, ¿qué pasa, tío? ¿Tú dónde vienes?
Yo de Ruta de Córdoba.
Vaya, ¿y cómo has salido de esto?
Con la cueva de Rafapá.
Con la web de Rafa y la camiseta que la...
There's an example of our t-shirt. It's so cute. So the t-shirt had the hands over Bush as a puppet, right? And the two hands are throwing the planes down at the towers. And the top of the hand says New World Order, Nuevo Orden Mundial. And the bottom, you can see it says demoliciones Bush Laden. Demolitions by Bush Laden. So this guy just showed up there and he had one of our t-shirts because he had got it from somebody else. So our t-shirts were going viral. Okay, so then back in DC.
Before we Spain, at the height, how big was your group in Spain?
Well, people came and went, so what you can really say.
Right.
But how many people did they have on the mailing list? I had hundreds on the mailing list. I had a mailing list. I was very diligent. I took everybody's mail, so I had a very big mailing list. Say hundreds.
Very active, it seems. Do you just keep in touch with them?
Oh yeah, I keep in touch with Greg. We write to each other on WhatsApp and Swap once in a while, and there's other people there too that. Actually, I just did an interview with some people from Spain, and Jaime Garrido was on that call. So if I go to Madrid, I will definitely want to see them.
Is it still active?
No, when I left in 20, I think I kind of held it together because I'm the female and the rest were guys, and there was a little ego between everybody, I don't know, but I was like the mother. But when I left, it kind of like split up. Just didn't do as much. Jaime Garrido does. He's on TV. He's super active. Greg is living on a farm, so he's just doing that. You saw him on the skateboard, so he's doing some activism on his own. SMOB, I think, does some activism on his own, but everybody's kind of like separate.
Okay.
Yeah. But it was just so much fun. I mean, I just gave you a small amount of people. We met people that were celebrities and people that were very spiritual. And so we just had a great group of people there. It was really fun.
Great. Yeah, you accomplished a lot there.
Mm-hmm.
I know, and I would go to work every day and walk in with my signs. And at one point, I was working for the Spanish government. Yeah, as a programmer.
Wow.
Yeah.
12 days of free speech.
Well, in Spain is different. You know, it's people are more likely to believe that the government's capable of doing something dangerous, or whereas the U.S., you know, in when I moved to D.C., you couldn't talk about it to most people. They really upset about it. So this was another radio show. This was after I moved back, but I think he called me to do the show in Spanish. So what else? This is another presentation at Ciencia y Espíritu.
We have a question in the chat.
Yes.
It's Al Magalota. Did you get much pushback from the people in Spain? I mean, it seems like maybe they weren't feeling it as directly as people in this country.
Right.
And we had suffered some, you know, tough times trying to gain traction here. I know you were in the States. How would you compare the Spanish reaction to the American reaction?
Yeah, Spanish people, as I mentioned, they're much more likely to believe that the government cannot be trusted because they've had historically, you know, gone through civil wars and all kinds of times when the governments have been bad. Whereas Americans are much more naive. So when I moved to DC, I was just giving out flyers, you know, like I did in Spain, you know, and I almost got in trouble and stuff like that in DC. People would be telling me like, why are you doing this? You know, that's dangerous. So in DC, and people that I would be having dinner with would just get up and leave me and stuff like that. So it was totally in DC, it was much more difficult to talk about that. In Miami, it's more relaxed, but people are less. Yeah, I talk about it among my Republican friends in Miami, and they are mostly either they know about it or they're open to kind of hearing about it, even though they don't all know about it. But the average person, more or less, is not that political. In Miami, less political.
Do you get any pressure from your employers?
They don't know about it. They will never see this video. They can't. In Spain, I didn't. In Spain, they knew about it, but here is not a good idea. They might see it. But
have you done anything in the Northeast in comparison to DC or Miami?
Well, I've only gone to some of the events in New York. That's all, you know. So I don't really know.
Okay.
Okay.
Let me see if there's anything else. Oh, this is the program I was telling you about with Jaime Garrido, and he made a special program about 22 years after 9/11. It's very interesting. He's a great speaker. And then,
Yes.
the firefighters. Okay, this is at Orlando, so I made a little video about that.
Guess what? I'm here with Richard Gage, and we're at the Orlando NFPA convention.
It's true. And I'm an architect with 30 years of experience, member of the American Institute of Architects, and founder and former CEO of an organization. And we have a website. The new website is protectingallprotectors.org. And that's why we're here talking to the fire protection industry, because we're very concerned. 4 firefighters that are here with us today, which includes Captain Tony Robbins, Captain Rule Angulo, Eric Lawyer of Seattle Fire Department, and Paul Haley, who flew from the UK. They're concerned about the disconnect between the National Institute of Standards and Technology and the NFPA, because this,
We can get a video of the building.
yes, this is building 7, which drops straight down uniformly, symmetrically into its own footprint in under 7 seconds. This has never happened before by office fires. NIST put out their final report in 7 years after 9/11.
Come on, third worst structural fire. Wait for it.
Brought this building down in that manner. Now, that's not even intuitive. It makes no sense for people who actually saw the report. But me, one of 90,000 members of the American Institute of Architects, have never gotten one bulletin on this building's collapse. So our effort here is to encourage the NFPA by educating its members to this incredible phenomenon, new phenomenon according to NIST, that it completely contradicts the established policy by the NFPA, who wrote the book on how to fight fires in these buildings. Firefighters routinely go into these buildings to fight fires like this without fear of them falling on them. So we're encouraging the NFPA to initiate a formal review of the NIST report, and that's what we're about here.
So
Nice.
I made that video and 2 more with interviewing the maker of the Bravo 7 and the guy who wrote the book. So I put them on TikTok and they didn't seem to care. But then I made some more videos about 9/11 and they canceled my channel. So I had to start all over again. So now I don't talk about 9/11 on my TikTok anymore because they were canceled.
Yeah, and
Go ahead.
and I was just gonna say at that NFPA conference, and Gene was there, and you were trying to encourage him to, be more vocal and outspoken and approach people. And he's like, well, I'm kind of an introvert, and you just told me you're gonna have to get over that. And he remembered that, so he's trying to keep that in mind.
Yep, that was good. That was a great turnout, the largest turnout of all the presentations there. They said the NFPA staff member on the lead said that it was the largest turnout of presentations in the entire conference. So that was what landed us the article, or Raoul, the article with Duncan in the International Fire Safety Journal. Weldon sees it. Weldon gets to Tucker. This is all just a whirlwind right now. So. Thank you for your part in that, Diana.
But Diana, you're just like a firecracker. Like your energy and your fearlessness and just like being out there and talking to people. I mean, I don't know what pill that is, but I want some of that. Like it's crazy.
I take For Life and I sell it for life. Supplement. I don't think that's it. I have Mars and Aries. That gives me a lot of energy.
Oh, yes, that would explain a few things.
So then in Miami, we started a 9/11 Truth Group. We had Richard Gage over 1 year. It's harder to get people to get politically excited about their. I don't know. We did have a good turnout. I mean, and we at Republican events did get a lot of people out. But then we also started Bruce Stanley and I started a blog, which we did for a while. It's called on rumble.com/9/11truth. There's a bunch of videos there that are pretty interesting. And that's it. I don't know if I went the required hour, but is that enough?
That was.
Did you ever approach any war groups, any of the places?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Well, in DC, we approached Code Pink, and Code Pink knows about it, obviously, but they didn't want to even talk about it. Then also it's called something against the war, the big anti-war group. Also, they don't want to know about it. They're totally gatekeepers. It's crazy. So in Spain, yes, as I said, Spain anti-war groups were interested in it, but not in the U.S. Yeah.
I often thought that if aliens dropped down on this planet and tried to do a political analysis, they would be totally confused and against the truth about forever wars, you know, and support from Republicans when, you know, this whole debacle was under a Republican regime. They would be totally confused politically about the 9/11 truth narrative.
Well, it seems like it's coming out now. I mean, it seems like the snowball is getting really big now.
Yep.
That peace would block this information and that Republicans would be supporting it. It seems very strange, really.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I think the information, there's too much information. It's the people like Weldon, he's so passionate. He doesn't care, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So when people see him, that is sparking that people can't ignore him, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But it seems a natural fit for anti-blackness and for Democrats, but that doesn't happen.
I noticed something that he said in his interview with Tucker. He said, you know, I'm paying off my mortgage. You know, he didn't get rich, and that was something that when we were protesting, people would say, "Where do you get your funding?" And we'd be like, "No, we don't have funding. It costs us $1.50 to make this sign." So it's really the people who are not money hungry. Again, I think Tucker's like that too. He's not doing it for the money. He's doing it because he believes in what he's doing. It seems.
Yep, follow the money.
You were did you start the Miami group or
yeah, I started the Miami group.
And was John O'Malley with you?
No, John O'Malley's in DC.
Oh, DC, I'm sorry. Yeah. He's our next guest, and he's going to be talking about, you know, how they got started. And I guess there was a faction that broke off some of the Vietnam anti-war people who had aged out more or less. And it should be interesting to hear his comments, what they've been doing.
Yeah, I think Sue Wheaton was the one who started it. Yeah. But
who was it?
Sue Wheaton.
Oh, Sue Wheaton. Yeah, I think he did mention that. Yeah.
But during COVID, like in many places, we broke up. We split up because our side didn't thought it was a scamdemic, and the other side thought that we were going to die any minute. And so it was just a big split.
That was part of the narrative to divide and conquer and isolate. Yeah. And they succeeded for the most part.
Yeah, that's the best way to destroy a group is to divide it. Right?
11 Truth going again during COVID. Yeah. So I can sympathize with that.
It didn't happen in Boston?
It did. It did happen in Boston because we were meeting, I believe, monthly in Waltham person before COVID, and then nothing. And that's when I started the Zoom calls. And that was only marginally successful until I started getting guest speakers. And that reignited Boston 9/11 Truth. But we were on the way out. COVID. It was a huge effort to get it going again.
No, I mean it separated all kinds of people. Families started hating each other, and you know it was very, very, very divisive.
Mm-hmm.
Myself and Chris Gruner sort of kept the website alive for a couple of years where there was absolutely little or no activity. And the speaking engagements have really helped us a lot. We're trying to get new recruits, so we're trying to find out from other 9/11 groups like yourself and John O'Malley, you know, suggestions as to what they've done. But what you did in Spain is amazing, and I wish we could do that here. It's making it fun.
Yeah,
the best coverage we ever got was in 2006 when they had a whole group of us went down to the 4-point channel and threw a bunch of boxes of the 9/11 report into the river. And that whole day was really exceptional. I mean, probably the most fun I ever had.
Hey,
So,
what did you throw in the river?
The
9/11 report, 9/11, and there were a lot of very interesting people that were there. If you go on our website and go to page 8, I think it is. It's it was on December 16th, I think was the day we were down there, and you'll see the speakers were really good that we had, but that was sort of the high point of our creativity, I'd have to say.
That was coinciding with the annual reenactment of the Boston Tea Party.
Yeah, right. That's what I meant to say. Right. Yeah. Yeah. The Tea Party was the original Tea Party, and Barbara Honecker was sort of the lead organizer in that, and that's when I first discovered Boston 9/11 Truth, who Chris Gruner and Joe Lapizzi were running, and started my activism from that point on. But it kind of reminded me of what you guys did in Spain. I mean, how that everybody, it was like a party.
Yeah. Well, we did in DC had the parade with the elephant every 4th of July. They had a big elephant, and that was fun. That was pretty fun, creative. A huge elephant was the elephant in the room, and it was a big elephant. They had a big elephant.
Elephant?
Right?
A real elephant?
No, it was the size of a real elephant, though.
Wow.
A huge, huge balloon the size of a real elephant.
Wonderful.
Yeah, that would have been wild, a real elephant.
Wow.
Do you live close to Phil Restino by any chance? Because he's down in Florida.
I don't know who that is.
Oh, you have to know who he is.
He's in South Florida, isn't he?
I can't remember offhand. He was also a very super dedicated activist in the earlier years. I think from 2009 to 2014, he and his group went out every single Thursday night and chose a different corner of the city they were in, or even a couple of cities over. And they'd spend the whole night just giving out flyers to cars that were waiting at the red light to turn green. And he did this every single week for a very long time. And eventually people fell away and he was doing it alone for the longest time. And then I guess after a while, he kind of like packed it in. And as of late, he started to come back to show up in groups like that. But he had moved to Florida to be with his mom because she was getting older and she needed a lot of care. So he moved, either he took her in or he moved in with her, and she just passed away like a week or two ago. So, but I think he's staying in Florida, and if he wants to get back into it, then I would totally suggest that you guys get in touch with each other.
Yeah.
Super nice guy, super nice guy.
Worked closely with Bob Bowman.
Yes.
They were buddy.
Yes.
Yeah, outside of 9/11, they were close friends.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Rich McCampbell, who's on this call, was one of the early founders of. You did a lot of work on the Esplanade. That's when I first came across you. But, we used to go out there every July 4th, and it was pretty active back in those days. And I know you went elsewhere after a while, but it's great to see you back. And I hope you continue if you can. But yeah, down memory lane here.
So Diana, were you born in Spain?
No, I was born in the United States in Connecticut. My parents are from Colombia and Puerto Rico. So I spoke Spanish before I went to Spain.
All right.
So how did the Spanish go over? Because the South American Spanish and the Spanish are not that similar, right?
It's just the accent is different. And
It's just the accent? Okay.
So what brought you to Spain particularly?
I went as an exchange student at my mother's insistence to Salamanca, and I fell in love with Spain. I mean, I was going to school in Albany, which is pretty horrible. And I went to Spain and I was in heaven, and I never wanted to come back to the United States. So then after a few years, I always wanted to go back again to Spain. I just moved to Spain. I got a job as a programmer there.
Great.
Are there any other questions? Anybody?
Magnus has his hand up.
Magnus?
Magnus?
Yeah, great to see you, Diana Castillo, and everybody else. What I am interested in right now is the Madrid bombing 2004. Are you aware of that? There was an interview in 2004 with Laura and Bush, were there to condolence, and instead of that, they were talking about the Islamic terror, and one of the authorities reacting to that video and aired it on YouTube and said that this is an incredible interview where George Bush and Laura were testifying and doing a condolence, and they were talking about the Islamic terror and everything that had happened since 9/11, and just continuing on that ball and rolling it and rolling it. I have sent the video on the link. Will you please copy that link and watch it later?
How long is the video?
It's a very long video, but we just need a few seconds and use English translation. But it's a very important video about that.
Yeah.
You're doing a very great job, very great presentation.
Thank you.
Great. And
One more thing very quickly. Sorry.
no, go ahead.
When did you become aware of the controlled demolition of the towers?
It was around 2006. It took me a while.
Oh, thank you.
I went
Great
to that
job.
conference about the firemen. That's when I opened my eyes.
Okay, thank you.
And we have Stephen had his hand raised.
Yes, hello. Gene and Sandra, nice to talk to you again. And yes, Diana Castillo, it was really interesting story. I also wanted to ask about the Madrid bombing. I remember this in the Bali bombing. We had business in both places, and that was a big part of the last couple years. How common was that belief that the Madrid bombings was an inside job, not who it was, purported to be?
I think it was fairly common, but there was competing beliefs of who it was. In other words, they didn't believe the official story, but some people thought it was, I don't remember, the police, and then the other people thought it was the CIA or whatever. So I think that everybody agreed on it, that most people agreed that it wasn't the official story, but they weren't sure which of the other stories were true. Something like that.
Right. I remember officially they originally tried to blame it on ETA, which was the
ETA,
separatist group.
Right. Yeah.
Was that also a common belief, or?
I think some people did believe that. Yeah.
Okay.
But
Thank you.
that was really the official story. So I'm trying to remember, but I do remember there was a lot of skepticism about that.
So what was some of the damning evidence that the official story was false about that?
Well, the cameras didn't work as usual. And trying to remember. That was one of them. I don't remember. They also took away the evidence. They took the trains away immediately.
Mm.
I don't remember the other pieces of evidence right now.
Evidence by omission.
No, but there was evidence. There was videos that showed that the people that said were there couldn't be there, but I don't remember right now.
What I heard about that whole event was that they blew up a train that poor people come in on, the people that do, the help people, the early train is like at 8 o'clock in the morning.
7.
And then the train that has all the business people come in at something like 10 o'clock. And you'd say, well, if you're terrorists, you'd want to blow up the,
Right.
the wealthy people and not the poor people.
Right. It blew up the workers that came in.
Yeah, right.
People don't start work normally till like 10 in Spain. Yeah.
Okay, Jerry has his hand raised.
Hi, Diana. Hopefully, you can hear me. I love that kind of activism that you do. I come from the very dry technical side of 9/11, and it's like chloroform. It puts people to sleep, and it does turn a lot of people off. I think I'd like to hear your views on how we use humor and how we use that to get things over, because I think that is key. We laugh at if you can laugh at the official story, and if you can laugh at people who promote it. I think that's a great thing to do. And as I say, the technical side is very important, but I don't think that's ever going to reach the general public, is it? And so well done on that sort of guerrilla activism that you do. It's absolutely superb. Love
Well,
it.
that's what Greg would do. He would use irony. So he would put such ironic things on his sign that people would look at it and like look twice, and then have to go up to him and ask him, what does that mean? So it would make people think. He did that on purpose.
Yeah, and I remember some similarities in the 7/7 event in London.
Right.
There was a guy, I don't know if you're aware of it, there was a guy called Peter Power, who's ex-British intelligence, who went on national television twice on the day of 7/7 and said, hey, we were running a drill that mimicked these attacks exactly. He was putting that out there. So it's like, okay, I work for Visor Consultants. The people who employ me know who they are. They know who I am. He was just putting it out there, so there was no value in taking him out. The similarities were
drill. There was a drill. Now that I remember, there was also a drill in Madrid, like right before.
Yep, that's how you use that drill to conjure in the attack. The similarities were incredible, and just the only parliament that I've ever questioned 9/11 is the Japanese parliament, and I'd forgotten that until you were talking that the Japanese parliament actually did openly question 9/11. Great presentation, loved it.
Then I remember in Spain they only had a few supposed suspects, and they were all in one building. And then I don't know, they blew themselves up or something like that. So all the suspected suspects were dead. So there was nobody they actually arrested for the March bombings.
And I think there's something as well, and that you've got ETA, the Basque separatist terrorists over there. Over here, we've got the IRA. So we had that. I think over here, we're a bit more skeptical than, in other words, it's seen as patriotic to question these stories, that no, this is important to do this. And somehow that's got flipped on its head in America, where it's unpatriotic to question 9/11. It's getting over that hurdle, but I think humor is the way to do it. I love that kind of activism. The elephant in the room. Love it.
Sandra or Jean.
Yeah. Thank you. Diana, good job. I know you going to DC as an activist, you saw a change in how things are done, and Weldon's saying that he wants to do something in DC this September 11th. What tips would you have for us if anybody travels to DC as an activist that you noticed learning being an activist in
Make
DC?
your signs big. That's the biggest thing.
Okay.
Have the two small signs are holding up a little square in their hand. That's about it. You gotta have them really big signs with thick.
All right. Thank you.
Have you seen our 20-foot banners over the highways?
No.
Speaking of big signs, oh, it's on our website.
That's in Boston?
Yes.
You doing that now?
Yes, we do it every year. Every
This
September
is
11th, we do highway walk.
this is John O'Malley.
Hey, John.
I just wanted to respond to the gentleman who asked the question about DC. We have a website. It's DC 911 Truth TRUTH.org, and we have 3 meetups. One of them is 9/11, and the other 2 are freedom of speech and the central bank digital currencies. And my phone number is on those meetup groups. So if you're planning to come down here, give me a call. I spoke to the gentleman. What was it? A day or 2 ago, Alfred. He has my contact information.
Yeah, that's
And I
me.
think
I got it.
I'm pretty sure Sandra and Jean also have my contact information. So anyway, if you're going to be down here, just give us a call or email or whatever.
Yeah, John. As soon as we hear more from Kurt, we're definitely going to be contacting you for more growing that whatever's going to happen that week. So thank you very much.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, there's a bunch of us here who can help. In any way we can. So over. Okay.
Excellent. Thank you both.
Oh, any other? Hearing none, I think this will end our portion of the meeting. We will stop recording and then continue on with, wait a minute, I have one more. That's not a question. We will continue on with the second portion of our meeting, which is our local agenda. You're all welcome to stay on, whether you're a local or not. But thank you, Diana. That was very inspiring.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, it was a pleasure, a real pleasure. Thank you very much. And tune in. Our next meeting will be on May 1st. And we will have just got approved by our voting committee, John O'Malley.
Nice.
I'm sorry, John, I hadn't notified you of that yet. Are you good with May 1st? Is he still here?
Yeah. I think May 1st should be fine. So I'll check. Yeah. I think I talked to Alfred on the phone when I had access to my calendar. And I think I put it on my calendar, but I'll check.
Okay.
I think you did, as I recall.
Yeah, so that's May 1st, which I think is that a Thursday?
That is a Thursday, 6 p.m. 6:30, same time as 6:30 to 8.
Okay, and we'll talk beforehand just to kind of plan out, what we want to do.
Yeah.
Right.
Offline.
Yes.
I'm gonna end the recording now. Thank you for joining Boston 9/11 Truth, and remember us whenever you're in the Northeast. Come and say hello.
Thank you. We're going to